Thanks for coming. Thanks for giving it a chat. And thanks for being here. We actually decided to do this because we would like book from you, not because we have research to completely share with you. So we're going to give you an overview of the tournament, and then we're going to engage in a discussion about all the ways in which you can help us, but also we believe that people can take up a research line too, that we're also doing that too. And so I know it wasn't really clear in that, but that's kind of what this was. It was like anybody who wants to do research and we have access. So, hi, I'm Tara. This is Kathy, and Beth is on screen, just not on our screen at the moment. Because it doesn't work. So our community question today is, what was your most memorable Halloween costume? And if not, maybe your favorite fall treat, because we have to celebrate Halloween. We're going to let Beth start first and tell us her story, her costume.
Hey, everybody just in the room, just a quick note, like when you're talking away from the whatever set up in there, it's really hard to hear.
Okay.
From the folks here. So
okay. Just monitoring. Yeah. Okay. All right, Beth, share your costume.
What was it? The costume, my favorite costume?
Sailor.
I'm sorry, say that again. Oh, my sailor story? Oh, geez. No. Okay, so when I was a undergrad at a place called Rowan University, and I happened to live in the Edgewood Apartments, which are pretty close to James, and I had two roommates who were both theater majors. So for Halloween, we got to go and raid the theater department's costume closet. And for some reason, I decided to be they had a whole like Navy legit sailor suit, not Coast Guard, I guess, is sailors, right? Well, both. It was very heavy wool, which I hadn't thought about the fact that when you go into all the parties and the bars, they get really hot. So that was a really bad pick, but it is a memorable one.
Yeah.
Did you hear me at all?
Now we can.
Oh, geez. I just told that story. The poor online people are going to have to hear it again.
All right, go ahead.
So, okay. When I was an undergraduate student at Rowan University in a year that I won't mention, I happened to have two roommates who were both theater majors, and one was heavily involved in costume design. So she had keys to the theater department's costume closet. So at Halloween, we would go and raid the theater department closet to find our costumes. And when I was, I guess, maybe a junior, because I remember I could go to bars at that point, I decided to be a sailor and ended up wearing a very heavy wool sailor suit as my costume with a little white hat. And that was a really awful idea because when you go into all the, establishments late at night, they're very hot. So a really, warm sailor suit was not a good choice. So memorable, but not the best costume.
All right, Kath. So I picked Kathy's from a couple, so she had
so this is me right here with my rainbow bright costume that my mother made for me. I was about 4 or 5. I just recently threw that costume out because my mom had kept it for like 40 years. I'm not sure why, but I just loved that costume. It had like leg things and arm things and like the wig. And so this was like the best. And my brother was a Care Bear next to me, which she also made that costume too. So this is like one of my like big memory costumes.
I also chose it. Mine was 5th grade. It was the year that they decided to, I'm not moving, stand right here, that they decided that you needed to be a book character. And so my favorite book in 5th grade, found out later, was about parents of divorce because I checked it out like 18 times, was Dear Mr. Henshaw by Beverly Cleary. And so if you remember him, he was like blue. So I was like, well, how am I supposed to do this? I made myself into a marionette, and I remember how proud I was of like the string and I did it. It was the first time I made my own costume. So we're just asking you, what's your most memorable Halloween costume? Good, bad, ugly, and different?
I also first made my own costume in 5th grade. and I went as Princess Matoka. You might know her as Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Like I was like the real person later on as Rebecca. And I was like really obsessed with her. And I like made it from a giant t-shirt and then dyed it with tea. I was like really, really proud of dyeing with tea. And then I did this like beadwork based on this book I got at Jamestown, our first trip. I was really proud of that costume, and I went as Matoka for like until I didn't fit anymore. Because I'm
Yes. To be fair, it could also be something you made your child. Yeah.
Can they hear? Do I have to come up here?
Thanks.
Look up there. So I'm glad you said that, Carol, because
Well, I knew you were contemplating in that head.
I grew up Pentecostal, so if you know anything about
because you had twins.
That's why I asked favorite fall treat in this sad thing you can't
but
celebrate.
as a result of growing up in such a strict religion, I decided to convert to Baptist. So now my child, she participated in it, and I made all her Halloween costumes. So she was a bunch of grapes one year. She was a bubble bath one year.
Oh my God.
She was jumping out of a present one year. She was a scarecrow one year. But I think the one that I loved the best was she was a ice control.
Oh,
With the Mr. Softy
yeah.
jingle in the
Oh my
back.
gosh.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
very talented.
Yeah. I'm gonna need video of that. Not a
Okay,
gift,
no, 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 no.
a video.
They're on my phone.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
The people in the chat say we can't see the presentation and it's also hard to hear you still. Amen.
Yeah.
All right, so can you see that now?
Yes.
All right, let me see if I can turn on subtitles. We'll go back to that in a second. How do we do subtitles?
Sarah, I will repeat. What you got? Yeah.
So actually, very similar. We didn't celebrate Halloween.
That's right.
So the cost of it. So yeah, I actually never did like Halloween costumes until I was an adult. So it was a very long time before I started that. I don't know that I would say I have one. I mostly bought mine. I was an adult.
Yeah.
That's different. But I am one of the weirdos that actually likes candy corn. So I will say that as mine.
Yes. Yes. Candy corn, as in candy, was the favorite fall treat.
Shaggy dog made out of grocery bags.
Nice.
Yes.
One of my some kind
Like a shaggy, as in the
it was like a bag.
or a dog. A dog. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I hear shaggy and I hear the mystery machine, so that's why I had to clarify. Okay, dog. Gotcha.
I would say memorable in third grade, we took a trip, like a school field trip to Shaker Town.
Yes.
Learned about shakers. And I was very interested, intrigued, and so I asked to be a shaker.
Oh gosh,
For Halloween. My mom also made all of our costumes. And so she made me a shaker costume. And basically, I remember trick or treating and everyone thinking I was a pilgrim.
Yeah.
And being like very upset. I was not a pilgrim, I wasn't. So
Yeah.
that was strange.
So a shaker, not a pilgrim. I'm thinking there's a lot of similarity over here to Maggie, in the sense of like, yeah. And I'm sure your peers were very understanding of that at that moment in time too. Well, thank you for indulging in this. This is something I do for every classroom. My yesterday question, by the way, come on in, was if animals could talk, what would be the rudest? So sometimes it's about you, sometimes it's about other people.
Well, and part of that is because we believe that we are all humans first, and that the approach that we take in this work is human driven, not just product driven or research driven or system driven.
So just to be clear, for those of you just entering the room, we just discussed as our community question of the day what our most memorable Halloween costumes and or if you didn't celebrate fall treats. We are going to give you a little bit of overview, maybe spell participants correctly, tell you what tell you what we've done so far. And to be fair, we called this and agreed to it because we have so much. We wanted to. Oh, this is my actual mic. Yeah. Okay. We wanted to invite people who wanted to do research, or because we had access, and because we just can't do it all. And so we want to have a much larger discussion with you about that. So what Thrive actually stands for, besides the meaning, I'm sure this was ChatGPT. Beth can probably tell us, but we came up with an acronym of transforming, holding space, reflecting, inspiring, value, and empowering. And to be fair, I would say that it's our mission, really, and everything that we do around, comes from that. Yep. Here are humans. We have 7 partner school districts that you can see listed. Because we see them as humans first, we do not use the words instructional coaches, and we do not use the word new teachers. We say that we are collaborative and that we all learn from each other. And while we might be more experienced and or seasons, these are kind of the roles that they are in. Because the thing about new teachers is they're not necessarily always new. They could be new to a district or whatever the case may be too. And so we have 24, and then we have 13 growth facilitators, and they are actually paired as triads that come from each of those districts. What is not on here are our 3 central administrators. We have a director of curriculum who oversees 5 of the districts. We have 2 superintendents, and then we have an assistant superintendent who signed on immediately to the grant. And we do also meet with them in the in-between as well. And they're fabulous. So just so you know what they're, that's not even spelled correctly. So I don't know why I can see it from here, but nowhere else. So just so you know what participants are getting, in between we are having what was originally 8 PLCs. We went to the draft meeting in the summer, and we went through district calendars. And so some days became full days, some became half days. And so they are also enrolled, which starts today, actually, in a graduate credit class. And it is differentiated between some assignments everyone does, some the growth facilitators do, and some the early educators do. In addition, we are paying for them to have a membership of their choice. I learned at the superintendent's roundtables the last few years that they get paid to be able to go to their meetings. Like, why aren't we members? Like someone paying for us for professional membership. They are getting those books because we're using them in the course, both by Elena Aguilar. And then I do provide, similar to what you see, like crafts or sensory tools or for them to try out. All of our growth facilitators have already received iPads and actually have started using. And then in the spring, we are implementing the Swivel 2. If you have not seen it, it is hilarious. Kathy likes to describe it, and so we'll let her describe it. But I've been using and playing with it at home just to see all the capabilities. It can be utilized both in classroom instruction for the teacher, but it can also be utilized in the coaching process as well.
Yeah, so it's an AI assistant, and it's about, I don't know, like this tall. Anyone who's been in my office recently, it's that big thing on my desk. But when it's in like standby mode, it has like these 2 eyes that just look at you. So I constantly talk to it, like even though it's not necessarily on doing its AI type recording functions, I'm just like, hey, M2, what's going on? And so if you ever want to come play with an M2, come to my office. I really see a lot of possibility actually for them besides this project to use for like student teaching supervision. It's really marketed that it can be a co-teacher in a classroom. I don't know how I feel about that.
I like it.
But certainly that it can sit there and be a part of a lesson, and then you can say like, can you provide me more supporting questions, or come up with an activity based on this discussion. So I think there's a lot of really cool benefit to it. We'll just see how it kind of works as we navigate through this process.
Because we spent a lot of money, we are actually asking for a training session from them, but maybe that is something we'll do, we'll send so that you can open up just so people can see what it is and if they want to look into it. But we did buy them for all the districts. Our director of curriculum had already been using them. She is kind of the mecca of AI in South Jersey. And so she is also going to do a demonstration with our people. So globally, this is our community that we just talked about. There is us, the central admin, the growth facilitators, and the early career educators. And this is kind of what we started with as far as our application is concerned. And so our charge realistically is to build this network of instructional coaches. Fun fact, so I've worked in 3 other states, and like every school, every Title I has always had a defined instructional coach. We don't have that in the state of New Jersey. We have no certification. There's a lot of room for growth here for us from this, but our charge right now, besides the networking piece and hosting a showcase at the end of what we co-collaborate and co-build with all of our participants, is the New Jersey DOE state. Oh, sorry. Is a New Jersey DOE state framework. We have already met with the state over our first quarter, and so we're kind of on track for this. But we've learned a lot in the process, and we've only met with them twice. But you can see these are the things that we are focusing on. It is educator SEL first focused. So we really work on the intersect of professional and personal identities as professional development, which is the work that I had been engaging in these last few years. We're really focused on healing-centered engagement, strength-based, neuro-social inclusive strategies, equity and tech, high leverage instructional practices, and cultural sustaining pedagogy. And we are also drawing from Elena Aguilar, who happens to be the only person, so there's a lot of room there too, who's really just famous for instructional coaching. And so we are going to invite all of you in the save the date. And then we on our website and they on their website have to link to our repository that is coming out. And so, yeah, this is it in a nutshell. We'll keep going so we can discuss the research. Yeah. Our main focus is basically how do we keep everybody well and so that they can support the others. And I used this analogy in my class the other day and they really got down with it. So I'm going to share with you. At the end of the day, we all have to be bounce houses, right? Like we talk about wellness, we talk about self-awareness, we talk about all of those SEL skills, but we have to keep pouring in that air, right? To be foundations in order to support others. And there are going to be moments of up and downs. And so how do we go about doing that? And what we also already learned from the coaches is like, I mean, we know this to be true. There are generational differences. There are people who know how to ask for help, don't ask for help. And all of this is at play. So it's not just about how do you teach these things or how do you manage these things. We also have to figure out how do we reach this new generation of educators that we've already seen from a Gen Z perspective have changed over time. So these are when all of our sessions are. So for you want to save the date, April 29th is our, in the business hall is our showcase. And these are kind of our guiding questions at the end of like, how are we neuro healing and how are we neuro evolving? Because at this point in time for my field, everyone's in healing, epigenetics, neurological, technological, right? And so how do we elevate ourselves and continue to grow moving forward, especially in, you know, an ever-changing world. Well, between war and the zombie apocalypse, we're going to be fine. So one of the things, and this is the counselor in me, that we also do is I do send out communication based off of our sessions to not just the central administration and the participants. I send it to every building principal so they are aware what is happening. We are paying for their subs, by the way, too. And so I also send snail mail. They've already gotten their first round of snail mail like a week or two later. So we're engaging them continuously in their buildings as well. Here's what we've done so far. We've had 2 sessions. In our first session, we really, the dean came and we basically set up our norms, which is part of our human first aspect. And very little, we went over some brain breaks, which is kind of nice because then we brought it back in the second time around. And then we split them apart in this session because every session is going to be different with early career and then the growth facilitators. And then the second session, by the way, that was a magnet we set them. Is that we did have a meeting with the state DOE grant manager and she was very happy, so we're happy. And then our last session, they did an SEL self-assessment. Between Kathy and Beth, they really did this amazing job of working with the triads from each of the districts, which has proven to be the best hour of their lives. And so what we are seeing is that some have the title of instructional coach and some are building capacity. And so we are also providing the opportunity for them to be able to do that here. And apparently that is a very big deal.
And we did with some really just basic prompts of like, what was the biggest challenge that you faced this year? And we had the growth facilitators actually start so that it wasn't just the early career teachers sharing their challenges. It was for them also to see that seasoned teachers, model teachers still face challenges, and it allowed them to sort of do some problem solving together for that. And just having that time to sit down and talk was huge for them.
Yes. And so we also tied into the 3Bs, their emotional cycles and unhelpful thinking patterns. And that was even more revealing because it says a lot about who they are, what they need, how they do it, how they filter. And so they enjoyed that process too. And I explained to Kathy and Beth, I was dropping off my kid late, and Craig, I happen to have the pendant for Craig, the flag, and he said, Kara, I just want you to know they came back and were like, this was even greater than before and elevated. And part of it was those reasons. They were working on themselves essentially for others, and they were given time to be able to be with the people in their school, because as we know, duties, this, that, and the other, that part of community doesn't exist unless there is a dedicated PLC.
And I do think that so much of what we did on this day could really be transferred from like the teacher ed perspective.
Absolutely.
Like so much of it could be brought down, to what we do with our student teachers, with our teacher candidates, and to get them to understand that how their emotions and how especially their beliefs, ways of being influence their behaviors, right? So all of us could be in a classroom witnessing the same incident, but we're all going to react differently based on our beliefs, our experiences. And so understanding that, I think, makes a huge difference, especially when we send these student teachers into classrooms and they're like, well, my coaching teacher is dealing with this in a way that I would never deal with this. And we talk about like why that might be. So I think there are some great opportunities after we finish this year to think about ways that we can be moving this down into teacher prep as well.
Yeah, and to be clear, we have 37 participants. We were not supposed to have 37, but each district wanted more and more people to be involved. And so one of the things that has happened in Camden County, specifically with Danielle as superintendent, is they started to have a small Camden County gathering that we're now going to try and hone in and own and run ourselves as a networking for instructional coaches, because they exist in different places. They exist at all different levels. Yesterday I was in a school and there's a preschool one, right? And so we just it's not uniformed in the way in the other states that I've been. And so I think that's partly why they wanted this aspect of it as well. And then we also heard from, we got a lot of emails already from people who the coaches will have their iPads already and wanted to use it. And then also the emotional cycle, they wanted to do it in their entire school with all of their teachers. So it's, we feel good. Not really, but the night before any of it, but after the fact, we feel real good. Which brings us to what's upcoming for us is, I already shared with you, our different sessions, our M2 technology. Our next EduCell is really looking at our communication patterns and how we fight too, which is always fun for me. Which brings us to research, right? Yes, so this is where you come in. We have deliverables. Those deliverables actually don't necessarily include research, but we tried to start that process for ourselves and thought in a DIA meeting that this would be a great opportunity to talk about it. And now that Sarah's here to also present maybe a synopsis of how other people could get involved to do research as well. And so we have a prime body right here ready to go. And so it might fit the avenues of where people are. Some things that we kind of thought about as far as buckets are concerned is the implementation and process evaluation. We're going to have to do in general, but it is also people's wheelhouse. So we thought we would open that up. Outcome and impact evaluation, right? And or systems change and sustainability. One of our next things before our December meeting is we are going to meet with central administration so that we can be very clear on what their goals are. We know Glassboro specific is building capacity to build into these positions for future use, and so that's what they are doing. Whereas Belmar already has them in formal positions, and then in the other 5 districts, it's hit or miss on what it is that they do, or are they just covering classes, or whatever the case may be. These are the frameworks that we kind of are working with, and then we just put this here as potential for both qualitative, quantitative, and then I just said to Kathy, we really are doing a par, no matter how we look at it, because we are co-creating definitions, we are co-creating frameworks, And so I do think we will formalize that a little bit more, or if somebody else wants to facilitate that with them. So we just put some of those things here because remember, they also have a course. We probably in each session also have 3 data points between exit tickets, reflections, and then the in between is happening in the course. And so just putting that up there for you that we have no idea what we're doing. I'm sorry. We know what we're doing practicality wise. We know that we are contributing to a much larger aspect for each of these districts. And at the very least, we didn't actually share this too. Once the early career educators left in our last session, then we provided supervision too, and just really talked about their own wellness and their boundaries and how they're maneuvering all of that as well. Which is also helpful for a different group of people too. So when we say the door is open, we mean the door is open. The door is open to our colleagues, the door is open to whoever, but we know that we are a collaborative in and of itself and we can't do it all. And we don't want to do it all because we do not want to get burnt out also. So in a lot of ways, I do think we're going to head in the PAR area, but as a natural fit, which didn't occur to me until last night, which is scary considering I do PAR, but that's all I got. So we are ready to engage in a conversation with all of you, and Beth also helping us as our virtual facilitator on the call. You got ideas? Anything jump out for you?
Or before that, do you have any questions?
Yeah,
How about we
clarifying
do
question.
you have any questions about what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it?
Yeah, you should also know you could do a study on the 3 of us because we are 3 very unique, different people in this, which is really working. Yeah.
I do not consent. No, I got I have a question here. Can we?
We can't see it because we're looking at this, but we can
Right.
probably stop sharing this.
Yes. Dr. Hockman asked, what are the, sorry, I just lost it. What is the grade level and content area focus of the participant?
Oh, great question.
And
Great
that
question.
is, it's a range from pre-K or preschool through high school. And I'd be happy to share an overview of all of them. I think they are primarily at the elementary level, but there's a good number of high school, middle school as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of K5, K8 districts, and then we definitely have 2 high school triads for sure, from Gateway and Glassboro. So I would say we are elementary heavy, but we do have middle school and high school from a secondary perspective as well. Yeah. Yeah.
So this was a May to May project. We literally had, I think, 8 days, 10 days to put together the grant. And that was already like after they said it was supposed to start. Like that was a lot of fun.
Graduation week.
Yeah,
Grades weren't even in.
We were rocking and rolling. And it's supposed to finish by April 30th, May 30th. It's a year.
Yeah.
It's a year.
And not that, well, Kathy and I've signed on to this, not necessarily that Beth has yet, but when we got awarded, there were 2 possible awards, and we are the only one that they decided to award. And they did share with us in that first meeting that they have money put aside for next year. The difference is that when we apply, it has to have a different twist, right? Because this money was here. So we always thought we were elevating anyway, what we were doing, but just I say that to say, if you are somebody who wants to engage, the possibility of also having a second year is really high. Mm-hmm.
Andrea said, who's not a panelist, just so, well, we couldn't unpanelist her. What would be helpful? What would a helpful thought reflective protocol look like? The unhelpful thoughts when it comes to personal, professional reflection would be an interesting area. Ooh. I know pre-service teachers definitely get into a spiral of thoughts that aren't helpful or even know where to begin and think in ways that are helpful.
Yeah, and Andrea, I can actually share this with you, but I give them like the 10 unhelpful thinking patterns, which in all fairness, clinically are called cognitive distortions, and I refuse to call them that. And so we go through them. And so it is something that also we can add even further reflections too. So not necessarily something you have to be, as opposed to
taking assignments and be able to analyze them from a content analysis standpoint, if that is something you're also.
And when layering identity and
Yeah.
power to that, it could be really compelling.
Yeah, that actually has been fascinating for us in the sense of, we work in systems. And so how much agency you have versus you don't have. And then over time, we know this to be true, we become apathetic if there is not room and growth and a reflective process. And then it changes the way in which you teach. These are proven facts. This isn't like I just made this up. And so I agree. It's a huge part of that right now.
And it's been interesting too to see the difference in those very first year teachers, like those folks that literally have just graduated from their teacher prep programs and are starting their first time jobs versus some of the other participants they're in their second or third year teaching and sort of where they're coming at a lot of this, but still needing that coaching and that support. It's also a little weird because one of the people in the room is actually one of my former students. And it didn't register the first day when she came like dressed professionally, like who she was, because I was used to seeing her in her like class clothes. She's like, I know you. And I'm like, yeah, I think I know you too. And yeah.
I would actually argue probably over 50% at some point came to Rowan, either at the master's and or undergrad level. And I can only say that because we're just on the final push of getting them all into the class this week. And so I think that part is also fun. And I know this because I see this in school counselors all the time, but instructional coaches are called to do everything under the sun, right? They're like the ancillary people in the building. And so they have what they're supposed to be doing and what they are actually doing. And so for them, I can honestly say that this is a very validating experience for them, and they will take anything and any support that people are willing to give. And so I say this from a research perspective. Our original goal was to actually go into schools in the in-between, but also we knew enough to know that which is how the class kind of came to be. But if people want to do research too, they are more than welcome to have you want to come out. We are going to have them record, and we are having processing sessions with them as part of the class and things of that nature. But it is also something that they would welcome also simultaneously. Yeah.
How many of your early career achievers are careers?
Yes. Yeah.
We have at least
3 I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, and so it's very interesting their concerns as beginning teachers versus, so we have one in particular that I'm sure we're all thinking about.
Yeah.
And he just switched from business to now teaching high school business. And he's
also a Black male.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's struggling a little bit with like, how do I communicate content, right? Because for him, it's not the content, it's the communicating that content with high schoolers in a way that's different than what he would do in business, right? Like, so he's very used to the lecture format, and that doesn't necessarily translate well in high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would also add to that too is, we gave the humans first, and that just because we've been teaching longer, there are some things that everybody knows differently. And so no one has power in this group other than you might have more years of experience, but that doesn't equate to knowledge and skill sets and even mindsets. And he was one who was vulnerable from the jump, and it really changed the dynamic in that whole group and what happened during that session as well. Did you have a question? Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's the dean.
Your concept, the circle contribution format.
Mm-hmm. Like for me? Oh, that is more a visual of showing our community. Oh, on the right? Yes. Yeah, we created them. I'll put it back. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question also to folks on?
Yes, so she wanted to know about the circle piece. Yeah, I was trying to share it with them too, but this. Oh, yeah, the emotional. Okay, so yes and no. So I am neuroscience psychoed, right? And what my tasks, right, our entire careers were to be preventative and to do what is preventative counseling, which is sharing, right? Like all of the SEL skills used to fall to just the school counselor from an explicit standpoint. So I, yes, created an entire curriculum where I put all of those things together in a book called EduHealing. Oh. Yeah. She said grounded theory. They can't hear, so we're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other comment I was going to make, given possibilities of research, I wonder if you could share that with the PhD students.
Sure.
And perhaps even students in terms of topic diversity and research that, but they're looking for topic. We even have some of our students, some of our colleagues who are also in doctoral programs that could be potential dissertation topics and the data.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, like, we know how hard it is to get school data. We know how hard it is to get access. And so we wanted an opportunity to have a collaborative at Rowan who was also researching it, so that we can also support our untenured and or want to get promoted faculty. But we've never really been in a position where we've had this many school districts or things of that nature. So when Sarah walked in, I was like, Sarah, just so you know, this is really what this is about. How do we bring other people together who have interests, who now we have access to that, and then it allows them to be an immediate in and access, quick but immediate in and access. Yeah, right. Mhm. Yeah.
But that's the information after the participants.
Correct.
In,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
You may have to be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Secondary data sets,
Gatekeepers
essentially.
to give,
Yeah.
To help the students move out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think, when we had initially thought about research, we started doing the whole IRB process, and then we got caught up in all of this other grant stuff. And, I think we sort of resigned ourselves that the research piece of it, some of it's going to come kind of post-mortem, but also if we have the opportunity to continue the grant, then we'll be in a different place 6 months from now than we are, like.
But case studies are the reason we wanted it in November and to not put it off is that they can do that, or they can do like a focus group, or like, it could get attached to qualitative too. But there's a question here, just wanted to share if we have demographics, and we probably should have said this. We have all those demographics for all of them. Actually, the goal was, and we didn't even mention this, is to increase the capacity of teachers of color. So it was instructional coaching to support capacity for early, with a focus on particularly teachers of color. No.
But we asked the districts when they were trying to
prioritize.
give us their list to prioritize.
Do you feel like we did?
I think our local district definitely did. I mean, that is probably our most diverse group.
Yeah.
I would say Belmar, no. And it's a range in the other 5 districts, but we do have levels of diversity and different levels. And I would argue we almost have every content area in some level too. There is a heavy special ed population as well. I would actually probably say we're more special ed heavy than anything else. Yeah.
I was wondering about the different districts, and I'm just learning the districts, but if there's.
Yeah, no county run thing. It's weird for me. Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I know. Yes.
School level or community level or.
Yep. Yes.
So Wendy just asked for the folks online about the different contextual factors with the different districts and resource mapping and looking kind of across those as well.
And we do want to, I think, in a lot of ways too, for what you just said, because those also artifacts exist in their own way too, and then we can request them from our central administrators too. Yes. Mhm. Yes, I love that idea. Mhm.
Yeah.
That actually can also probably be done in a par, right? Where like they could do that. I like that. See, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Also, welcome to New Jersey, yeah, where every district is for themselves. Resources and all, doesn't matter how much we cut resources, there is no joining. Mhm. Local control is what I've been told, so I'm just reiterating it to you. Mhm. Texas. Mhm. Well, that's what they always say to us. It only exists here and in Texas. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So is there any is there anything from the state or the districts that are pushing for students?
So this is a
Wait,
fun
hold on.
fact.
The
Yeah.
question was that if, since we're focusing on teacher SEL, is there anything from the state or the districts on student SEL?
Yeah. Yep. So in 2017, the state adopted their own standards based on the Castle framework. But how it went about was, hello, superintendents, here's your initiative. Go do something with it. They did nothing. And then, I mean, I take that back. I have been doing PD since then for that reason. So people have been doing things. However, the shift came from moving it from the counseling office to be very explicit. It's not that it wasn't happening. We weren't explicitly stating that these were what those things are. So over that period of time, and then it definitely in a post-COVID world, everyone got on board between check-ins and but remember, their Band-Aids were one of two things. They were either hiring more counselors, SEL coaches, blah, blah, whatever, but they were really buying canned curriculum too. And so we also know that implementation matters. And so if there's not a buy-in, which is ultimately how I got into this, was like, I had a district who wanted me to come in to do PD, and I was like, yeah, look, I'm going to be real with you. Like, they don't know enough about it themselves, how this impacts them to order then translate that into a classroom. And so that was kind of my gateway. And I spent 2.5 years in one district as their PLC facilitator, doing these in small groups, and then how it translates into the classroom each time too. Mhm. With less and less. Yes. And to be fair, like, I'm kind of excited it's now coming, but everyone in here knows I've been preaching about this for a long time. So much so in 2019, I have a supporting mental health and social emotional certificate program at the undergrad and grad level because I couldn't keep up with the amount of PD that people wanted on that particular topic. And now I really wanted our teacher ed folks to do something with it and to start requiring those classes. And so it was slow but sure. It started with Bay. Who does only take one of those classes, and then elementary ed is a huge part. They all are now getting their CUGs from us as well, and so we now have 381 students in those courses. Yeah. Andrea, I'll get to you in a second.
Demographic difference.
Yeah. Well, Dina Simmons during COVID was very clear about this. It is white supremacy with a hug if it is not given in context, right? And so that also matters. But one of the things that I couldn't change policy on until this was kind of a nice fit was like professional and personal identities intersect in teaching every day. It's a job where you're consistently on. And so no one saw personal development and growth as also professional development. And so this allows us in that framework to be able to do that. And then, but it was like happenstance. It just kind of all eventually came together. But Andrea asked this question, and so I'm going to open this up to Beth and Kathy because I literally will curse if I say this because I really don't know. But if you could explore one thing in the spring, what would the one research question be? And I don't know the answer to that, Andrea. So I'm going to ask my colleagues here. That's why we're here. That's why I'm here.
Beth, you want to go first? You have one? I think, and again, I approach this very much from a teacher ed perspective as someone who's really vested in my pre-service teachers. So, and then obviously, and then how that translated to the classroom. So I think I would just like to know more about the impact of not even necessarily the coaching itself, but the work around their own SEL on them as teachers and as they move forward in their careers and considering their own social emotional health and how that impacts them and their students.
Yeah.
So it's more than a spring question, I think, but I think it's a starting spring question.
The other facet to that too is though, is like all the research exists about teacher burnout, this, that, and the other. And we know it, it's documented, like, but we don't have solutions to it. And so for me, this is like something that can fit already into a system that exists like PLCs and things of that nature, because professional development is a thing in education. And so for me, I can't change the system completely. We've all tried, right? And we're still going to continue to try. So how do we work within the system to get them the support that they need? Because to be fair, and I give this example all the time, they wake up, they could be caregiving for a pet, an elder parent, children, trying to get them out the door. They get to school, they have had to run 3 lights, traffic hit, blah, 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 whatever. They get to school and now they're on. Like there is no downtime. And what we know, and I am a prime example of this, is if you are not trained, right, to either calm your brain, calm your cortisol levels, whatever the case may be, you go, 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 and then they leave. And because we don't make enough money as it is, they either go to a second job, they're caregiving, blah, 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 whatever. It's 10 o'clock at night, they're ready to go to bed. And now what? What did they do for them? And it's like parenting 9,000 times, I think. And so we can't force them to do things outside. So what can we do for them inside in a system that's already working? So I guess, Andrea, in my mind, I want to be able to, whatever we answer, also help shape policy, I think. And I've never been able to do that.
Time for one more.
One more question. Anybody got any questions, thoughts, reflections, feelings?
We like
Emotions.
feelings here. We like feelings.
Thinking about the research side, right? You're kind of saying that I think got lots of access to a lot of things to do. But I would be against the idea of like doing this too. So I'm like trying to be thoughtful about it. I love the idea of CAR. I think that makes a lot of sense with the approach you're taking. But what I would think in kind of the same direction where you were talking about for your spring question, I think one of the things that would be helpful to walk out of this year with is for the districts that didn't participate, right? Everybody else, what do they need to see or hear or have evidence of to be able to say like, okay, let's take the chance, right? Because in your example of this full study, it was real expensive, right? But the state was giving you lots of materials and lots of opportunities and things that a district wouldn't have to have to be able to do something. Right?
That is correct. Yeah.
So I think a nice, outcome of this could be, and it's related to like the process evaluation and that kind of thing, but it doesn't have to look like that. But a nice outcome of this could be, if I think this is really cool, what do I do? Like, how do I do this? How do I sell it to my board? How do I sell it to a district? How do I sell it to a building? How do I get it on the schedule? Like, how do I?
That's an actual easier fix said than done, because we have to have all of this digital repository available so that everyone in the state has access to it. And so I agree with you to have like a very, what I'll call practitioner friendly, like how and steps to do. I think that we can also do that. The one thing I will also share with you all, in case this is an interest of you, I had been talking about this for a while, but the state said that we were the first people to be talking about this, about what the needs and wants and looks look like for different generational differences. And so she had asked us to also put that in our digital repository too. So I'm putting it out there in case anybody wants to think about that as far as research is concerned. But you're right. When you think about when people go to PD or they want to change something, what is it that they want? They want like legit, like our students, step by step on how they can go about implementing this, including like what should we collect as far as data is concerned to be able to show this, blah, 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 blah. You're right. I like it. Yeah. Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
a PLC leader, a school administrator, a district leader is looking around for something.
Okay.
What could you put together, whether that's a practitioner paper, whether that's a paper plus a webinar, like there could be ways, right?
Yeah.
And to give the research to show them this is how it worked and this is what worked.
Yeah.
I think is helpful, but then also, you know, how do I do this, right?
Yeah. Sarah, just to push back on that in the sense of like getting more from you, just in full transparency, like what is a project that we ultimately can have either the teams of triads together co-create, right? That also can be showcased to also show a number of ways in which this was done in different contexts also. I'm not saying you need to answer that right now, but I feel like those go hand in hand because you're essentially using what they're doing also.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of your data can come from the stuff already,
Right.
And that's kind of the hard piece as well, like how is this focused on what was created? But you and I both know, right, building principle is gonna look at that and be like, okay, great, but like, did it work? And how do you know, right? Like that's where their head's always gonna go. That's what school board's gonna want to look at. So how do you marry those two, I think is the next piece.
Yeah.
And you can't put it all in one product.
That's right. Right.
Right.
Also, why we have different pods. Sorry, I'm just going to read what Beth said. She says, I was going to say her interest is connected to the two issues we are currently experiencing in SME H program, a lack of understanding of what supervisors are doing with interns. I agree with you on this, Beth, especially since they receive very little PD and support from us, right? So how it translates to that and what can we learn as we nurture these coaching relationships that can inform CP intern supervisor work. And she said the second issue is PST wellness. What's PST? Thank you.
Teacher.
I see opportunities to learn. I'm like, PTSD, did you miss some letters? Or I see opportunity, yeah. Pretty much. I see opportunities to learn about what we are seeing in the early career educators and the feedback they're providing, right? If you think like if it as an intervention for what it is that we then backtrack, I assume you're saying in teacher as well.
I mean, I would say like, and Beth, I don't know if you feel this way. It is already informing the way that I teach my classes, the way that I'm supervising student teachers this semester, my interactions with them and thinking about, like, again, their wellness. And again, I'm coming from it, you know, knowing the research that we've been talking about, knowing the program requirements. But I think you do raise a really good point about like, because a lot of our supervisors are one-offs or they don't really get a lot of training. They get maybe training on the Danielson,
Yeah,
but not on
delivery.
right. And when I hear stories of my students sharing what their supervisors say and do, I'm sometimes appalled.
Because they may not be doing well. What she said that Sunny said there's very little research on supervisors' work for sure. And I think that's the difference in my field is that we do have a lot of frameworks for clinical supervision. So a lot of what I do or how I teach or how I run PD is really embedded in that. And so that's kind of what we're also going to be supporting them with. And Beth said, I hear you, Maggie. One idea that I already like to suggest to our department is to have supervisors to read the Arise specifically, Beth, on transformational coaching.
Yes.
An opportunity to work with scholars, OWLS, a program of the diversity in action. This way. Okay. Program of the diversity in action group. We'll continue to do these. Our next one will be January, February. Carol Thompson and her colleagues talking about some work they've been doing in higher ed. So be on the lookout for information about that. If you have works in progress that you would like to present, please be in touch with me at Margaret Thornton M. Both ends are very important. One often gets left out, and then I never see your email at rowan.edu. We would love to have you present as well. Also, there are cookies and coffee in the back, so please take some with you when you go. Thanks everybody.
Thanks
for
online,
and
folks.
thank you especially to Michael for all his support. Getting this set up and advertised and
Yes, thank you to everybody. And feel free to reach out to us for those of you who want anything as well. Thanks, Ash.
Oh, Beth asked what is the process for if people want to do something?
Contact us.
Contact one of us.
Yeah. Yeah, Casey, now that I'm thinking about this might not be a bad thing for your students as well.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of the day.
Got it.
See you on other meetings.
Got it.